Good afternoon and welcome to this Facebook Live with myself, Ruth, from Top Schools. But it's not just me this evening. A little bit later, in about 10 or 15 minutes, I'm going to be joined by Chriselle. And if you've seen the advertising for today, Chriselle is educator of music-based learning for infants and toddlers. So if you have a little one and you're interested about hearing about how music can feature in their lives, then stay with me for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then Chriselle will be joining me. In the meantime, I'm going to waffle on, and it's been a really exciting week for results. It happened this week. So for the little ones, as you know, the applications went in September, and some of them in October, or some of them even before that. And this week we got quite a few results from a couple of different schools. So that's very exciting. It's exciting for the people who got in and who got into their first choice school. And it also means that the phones ring, and my messaging or WhatsApp and Messenger and all the different channels, because it also makes things a bit more complicated as well. As I'm sure you know, you've probably applied to more than one school, so you might have had the offer from your second or third choice first, which always creates a bit of complication. But we're able to, on the whole, it's been a very exciting week, extremely positive news, and some very happy families as well. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. You've got 10 or 15 minutes with me before my special guest, Chriselle, will be joining us. So in the meantime, if you have any questions related to admissions for international schools, assessments, we're right still in the thick of it. Some more children are going for assessments this coming Saturday, and ongoing until the schools close for Christmas. I was going to say Easter holidays there, so I'm way ahead of myself. So do you have any questions at all related to anything for admissions and assessments? If you have applied to a few schools that require, almost all the schools nowadays require teacher reference letters, definitely worth checking with your kindergarten teacher or your child's current teacher, that he or she has written the reference letter, has written the correct reference letter, sent it to the correct school. You would be amazed at the number of admin boo-boos that happen at this stage. And some schools are more forgiving than others. I mean, some schools will simply stop processing your application because they didn't receive this or that document. So it would be, definitely a shame for your application to fail for something so simple. Some schools are good, some schools are better than others in sort of reminding you, saying, oh, actually, that was the wrong document, we didn't receive it, it came through blank, what have you. The system had a bit of a wobbly. So make sure that check with your children's teachers that they have completed the correct reference letter and sent it in. And particularly, is it HKIS? They will be due starting tomorrow. So that will be, hopefully you've spoken to the kindergarten teacher already and primed them. A couple of years ago, well, maybe slightly more than that, not all of the schools required a reference letter, but nowadays they almost all do, which can definitely create a little bit of anxiety if you're not sure that you want to tell your child's current school that you're applying elsewhere. Unfortunately, you have to at a certain point when it comes time for the reference letter. So that crossed my mind this week. We had a few wrinkles to iron out, as it were, in the admin procedure. So do you have any questions for me about, always takes a while for you guys to warm up. Last few weeks you were good. So we're waiting for my special guest, Chriselle, who talks about music education. if you're waiting, we're going to have to think of things to talk about while we're waiting. So she's needing to come on about 6:15. So any questions? Any questions for me about admissions? If you are looking for a place in 2025, it's not too early. Do you know how much of a benefit time is? If you have time on your side, you have so much more well prepared for any eventuality. You will have all of the options, you will have all of the time to prepare. So for 2025, it's not too early. So that means if you have a child born 2020 or earlier, 2020, sorry, not 2020, 2023. If you have a child born 2023 or earlier, and you're looking for a space in a school in 2025, now is the right time to do that. Now, I was going to show you a little video. I'll do that in just a moment. So do you have any questions for me? Any questions? Thank you for watching. Let me know where you're watching from. Where are you in the world? What platform are you watching on? We are on Facebook. We're on YouTube. I think we might be on LinkedIn. I'm not sure how. Sometimes these things, they just go out. So it's yeah, it's been an interesting week. What else have we got coming up? More assessments, winding down for the Christmas holiday, at which point there will be lots and lots and lots of results. So how are you feeling? How are you feeling about the results? Are you feeling positive when you took your child to the assessment, or if you haven't done it yet? How did it go? Let me know. Was it what you were expecting? Did your child have separation anxiety? Did they have a great time? Did they see their friends? Was there something that they did or that the school asked you about that you weren't expecting? Let me know. One thing that I have a blog article that you can search for primary school assessments. What's my child really expected to do? And it's always surprising to me that parents genuinely ask, like, for this school or that school or the other school, what are they going to do? Well, there are slight differences between the schools, but it's just more about, it's kind of more of the same. It genuinely is not anything to be worried about. It is what your child is doing in kindergarten every single day. So they don't vary too much. And so go ahead and search for the blog article, and there's also social media posts, what they are looking for. So I can see that Crizel is backstage. What I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you to watch a short video, which is 1 minute, and then we're going to bring Crizel onto the stage. So just give me a second, see if I can work the tech. It's just myself.
Perception about kinder music is that we're building little Mozarts or piano virtuosos at 2. While yes, many children grow to have a strong foundation in music because of the Kinder Music program, it goes beyond that. Kinder Music is about building musicianship skills. Musicianship is not just something you can learn through a book. It's something that has to be practiced. It has to be something that is mentored, felt, heard, and sensed. And while many children do get to build a strong foundation in music because of the Kinder Music program, the first thing we do is support your child's cognitive, physical, emotional, and even oral and language and literacy skills. Because at the end of the day, music is not just an output. Music is a way of life. It's a language. And this is something that can be passed on from one generation to another, from one musician to another. And our aim is to inspire this love for music and the musicianship in your child.
Hi, Crizel. How are you?
Hi, Ruth. Thanks for having me. I'm good. Hi, everyone.
Okay. Thank you. I was just waffling on for a little bit before you came on. So thanks for the cute little video. Um, I'm not sure how to introduce you. Your bio is so lengthy and full of good stuff. But just to say that, or would you like to introduce yourself, Chriselle? Maybe that's the best thing to do.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Chriselle, and I'm a teacher who focuses on early childhood development through music. So I built a career on through the creative arts. I started as a child performer at 10. Professionally, I was in musical theater. Eventually, this translated into education. I wanted to connect and reach out to people, and I wanted children to have the same experiences, same feeling of building confidence and overall holistic development skills through music. I am the founder of Baumhaus in Hong Kong. It is the pioneering family center. We opened in 2015, back when there practically weren't any spaces for children, especially for infants and toddlers. We created a community space. We have our wooden playroom that my husband designed and now designs for other organizations and schools. We're very happy for the impact we've been making in the sphere of early childhood development, and that many of us are encouraging more families to find what is right for them, what is the right fit, what aligns with their values and philosophies, which may not always align with expectations in the mainstream system. Right? Oh, I forgot. I do distribute the Kinder Music program in Hong Kong. There are
Yeah.
quite a few organizations that run Kinder Music, but we mainly run the distributorship, and we've been handling this program and have been number one in Hong Kong since 2015. So it's something that we're proud of, not because of the number, but because of it's a testament to how hard we're working to make sure that every child has a chance to explore and express themselves through music.
Yeah, thank you, Chriselle. I couldn't believe when I read back through your bio that it was 2015, because I remember when it opened and when we first met. So thank you for the introduction. So for those of you that are watching, welcome. Ask Chriselle anything related to early music education. So, and since we met last week, but since we last worked together, you became a parent as well. So congratulations. I want to ask you, we talked about that we've only got limited time here, obviously. And so for anyone who wants to know more, we'll put some links on how they can find you. But you talked about lots of different domains, that music, you're not looking to create little mini Mozarts, and that music can have multifaceted benefits for little ones. Would you just be able to give us like a brief overview of that?
Great. Okay. Yeah, I think the video was cut a little at the start. My first statement was actually that the common misconception is that we're building little Mozarts, and that's not necessarily the intention. Eventually, because of can you see me? Oh, there.
That's nice.
Great. All right.
Meant
We
to
should
put you in the frame.
right?
I'll stop
No
messing
worries.
about.
No worries.
Yeah.
Um, and eventually, of course, the musicianship skills is something that you master and that you live and breathe, and some of the children do end up pursuing music driven careers, or wouldn't say careers necessarily, but a track related to music. While that can happen, the most important thing is that we use music for development. There's so many buzzwords around, and I feel like our responsibility as early childhood educators is to help parents demystify, understand that through all these jargons, you have to trust yourself, figure out what is your philosophy, and understand how you can best use these tools for your family. So, first of all, there's the concept of holistic development, and then there's a concept of multisensory learning. So these are very intertwined, right?
what does holistic development mean? When you're looking at domains of learning for a child, you have several. And if I can simplistically say five or six, but you can just, depends on your theory in early childhood learning. You can have 12, you can have 15. Basically, let's count very simple ones. Number one, you have cognition and logic. That's part of your
Mhm.
development. Number two, you have physical development, and that goes with gross motor or fine motor
Mhm.
skills. Number three, you also have language and literacy development. So how you speak, and vocabulary doesn't only mean what you can say, but what you can also understand. You also have the feeling of, you have social emotional development, right? How
Mm.
do you self-regulate? How do you connect with others? How are your interpersonal and intrapersonal skills? Then you have the creativity aspect, right? You have other domains as well, as spatial awareness, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, not least, you have the musical domain, right? And all of these domains you can actually exercise and address and explore through different exercises that are done through play, right? So
Mm.
holistic development means that while you're having one exercise and one activity, you don't go to the teacher and say, what did I learn today, in terms of, was this a language activity? Was it could be a language activity, but for some children they might use it as a motor activity. Maybe I'm playing the drum, right? Maybe I'm playing the drum today, and for one child, it's about numeracy skills, counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But for another child, maybe he or she is not tapping the drum. Maybe he or she is exploring. I have a hat, or I'm going to
Yeah.
roll this. Then it becomes a creativity exercise. It could also
Mm.
be that the child starts, I don't know, maybe using it to balance. And then it becomes, balancing on your head or whatnot. And that's what holistic learning is all about. That you view an activity not necessarily for what it was written for, but how your child is responding to it. So nowadays,
Mhm.
if you're really looking at more child-centered learning, and even child-led learning, then you really need to broaden we really need to broaden our perspectives on holistic development. The other concept is multisensory learning, and that means that when you're learning music, it's not just what you hear, but it's also how you move to it, how your body feels, how you respond to that, how you what you see as well. And so all of these come together, right? I'll stop there first. If there's anything you want to clarify on that.
No, no, it's so interesting. I mean, I think it's easy for us to say it's almost like it's common sense, but what's common sense to someone, I mean, you've studied it obviously is not common. I feel like what about your experience of working with parents, over the last like eight years or so? That do you feel that, I mean, I would imagine that parents still think very um what's the word? They're not thinking about holistic learning. They're thinking that go to a music class because their child's going to learn an instrument, go to a language class because they go to a sports class because they're going to learn ball skills. But I mean, how do you talk to parents about this and help them to understand?
Yeah, this is exactly this is yeah, you've hit the point actually. This is what we're trying to help address, that we cannot box learning, especially for children under the age of 5, and particularly in the strongest age group for kinder music are 0 to 3. It is imperative that we do not stick with one way or one style. So I mentioned holistic development and holistic learning. I'll give you a very easy example. I have two bars here. You can't see it so well. One is A and one is D. Okay, so ding dong, um, D and A, and this forms the perfect fifth interval. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or do sol do. Okay, now when children when sometimes when we bring these bars in front of the parents and the children, some families feel like, oh, this is underwhelming. I'm coming here to learn music, and you're just giving me 2 bars, whereas I can go somewhere else and I can get 7 bars. But we have to realize that children learn in a very simple way. You have 2 bars, a high note and a low note, do sol do. And for example, there are so many ways that you can use these bars. So some children will use it to get the beat, to practice the steady beat. Let's say, the farmer in the dell, the farmer in the dell, hi ho the dairy-o, the farmer in the dell. Now, that looks very simple, but you cannot learn complicated rhythm unless you can keep the beat. You have to keep that. And then later on, you learn, for example, even notes, uneven. But you need to be able to shift from. Until you can get that, you won't be able to progress into complicated rhythmic patterns. But what I mean by this is that you have this little tool, and there's so many ways that you can see that your child is learning. It could be the motor development, for example, to do bilateral actions, or doing right left. If the child is not able to do that consistently, what we would say is, put down the bar, stand up, sway,
Mm.
find your balance, understand that length of time that you need to sustain those notes, and then you can play, right? And those are the simple things that we need to address. Or something as simple as reading a book. For example, some families ask me, oh, I thought I was going to music class, how come you're spending 3 minutes of your time reading a book? um, Actually, books are one of the best ways that we can help children understand and get a sense of rhythm and a beat. This is one of my favorite books. It's called This Is My Dance. It's a kinder music book. And basically, if I read it for you, it just goes, this is my dance. It's new every time. It began with a heartbeat and sprouted a rhyme. But what it is, it's encoding triple meter. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, which you will need if you're going to dance a waltz, or if you're going to play something in 3 time meter. 1 2 3 1 2 3. So if you're going to read this properly, it has to go like
Mm.
this. This is my dance. It's new every time. It began with a heartbeat and sprouted a rhyme. Boom pa pa boom pa pa tango cha cha. 1 2 3, waltz with me. Boom pa pa pa. All right. And if we're reading that if we're reading 8 pages of that, your child has gone through the drill. By the time I give your child a shaker or a drum, the child has it in their mind that it's 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, and so forth and
Yeah.
so on.
I mean, you've explained it in a very technical way that, obviously I don't know that some of the technical terms, but so many of the books that are written for very young children have this rhyme as a basis.
Mhm.
So it does make perfect sense. I mean, do you find that when the parents come to the kinder music classes, do they then understand why you're doing these certain, like you say, the musical instrument, what do you call those,
Oh,
the
the
notes
chime
things?
bars, the resonator bars.
Yeah, it's just a tool, right? It's exactly that. It's just a tool. Do you find that the parents, they really, that resonates and they take that on?
I think it depends.
Sometimes.
We reach out to a very diverse set of families. I think
Yeah.
there are some who intuitively get it, because, as you mentioned earlier, this it does sound like common sense. And to
Mm.
be honest, this is something that many cultures grow up with. This is something that it was passed on to us by our parents and their
Mm.
parents. I think in
Mm.
today's society, we've become too engrossed uh, in the technicals. what does science say? And yes, this is backed up by science, but in the end, these are very simple tools that families can do. So some families, to answer your question, some families are very intuitive. They're like, oh, I get it. If you're going ta 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 ta, right? They
Mm,
realize that, oh, you're trying to get my child to understand that inflection, that musical inflection, ta 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 ra ra, ta 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 ta. Or if we're playing with different textures and articulation, even if it looks simple, they realize, oh, you're trying to help my child understand what is a full sound and what is a thin sound, so that they can play that. But we do encounter families who then say, why did we read this book? How come you're only giving me 2 bars? And we're not offended, because I think it's a product of what the market has been
yeah,
um,
yeah.
conditioning families to the point that I think where our job is to simplify and go back to the basics and say, look,
Mm,
learning has to be simple. It has to be something that you yourself can do for your child, because at the end of the day, nobody else is the expert of your particular child except you.
mm,
It's not my
mm,
place. It's as a teacher, I can tell you what how your child is responding to activities. I can tell you my hunch in terms of how your child is feeling or what your child is exhibiting. But at the end of the day, you know your child best. And so
mm,
if you enjoy these activities and you do it every day, then because of that repetition, there's learning. So I think what happens is some families do give it a try, even if at first they're a bit skeptical, and later on they're like, oh, after a few weeks, then it works. And I think those are the best experiences when we can actually empower families in that way, because then their testimonial becomes powerful. And so over the
mm,
last 8.5 years of Baumhaus, when we do have families come and they've been recommended by another family, I guess what happens is they're already kind of the mindset that, okay, I might not
yeah,
understand the way this method, but let me ask the teacher, let me clarify, and let me wait. And when they do see that there is that impact, um, it just becomes a more powerful narrative, I think. But most of
yeah.
all, I think they see their children happy. I think that's the
Course, 100%, of course, and I do think that we're in no doubt that all parents just want their children to be happy, but they just not don't always have the tools. They don't know how. I mean, it seems again, it seems such common sense. Like, we all grew up on nursery rhymes. I mean, I'm quite a bit older than you, but we did grow up on nursery rhymes. I'm not sure if that's. Do you find that parents, do they introduce music at home, and just simple rhymes and singing as a normal part of parenting? It feels like a lot of what used to be common sense and what came naturally now needs to be sort of engineered and prescribed, which is a bit of a shame. Do you find
we,
that?
we see that a lot because I think and again, I understand where parents are coming from. As a parent myself, I understand that if you feel like your child likes to sing or dance or move, or there's an interest in musical instruments, you would do all in your power to expose your child and give your child the best experiences, right? But we now live in a society where everything seems to be written down as a tick box, right?
Mm,
Like, can your child do this? Can your child do that? And actually, early childhood development is a circular path. Your child
mm,
may get this area and that area and this area, and not yet this, but this, and then it all comes together. And so I feel
mm,
like um, we need more, and there are more professionals in different fields that are saying, wait, let's try to deconstruct that for you. This is the concept. Then as a parent, you decide which path you're going to take, because not one path is better than the other. It's not my place
mm,
to say this music program is better than the other. If this one works for your family, go ahead. But
mm,
it is what's happening is that more and more families, I think, are not really connected in the culture of play. Let's put it
yes.
that way. I think there's a lot more there's a lot more to occupy our time and our lives now, that suddenly play becomes a 30-minute tick box that you do with certain
Scheduled. Yeah.
toys, certain developmental tasks and outcomes, right? But that's not how
What?
play should be. You weave play in your daily life, right? And sometimes when we're not listening to children and we're not listening to our instinct to play, that's when we disrupt the process of learning. For example,
Mm,
one of the most important tools in learning music or becoming a musician is what we call active listening. Active listening is that skill to be able to identify it's a thick sound, it's a thin sound, it's far from me, it's close to me, it's fast, it's slow. And this kind of skill is not something you necessarily need an orchestra for. Families think that, oh, if we're going to learn music, then you need a full-on orchestra. You need exposure to actual instruments. Actually, you just need to understand the concept. For a 2-year-old, it doesn't matter whether it's an orchestra. Of course, it's wonderful if it's an orchestra, but you could very well get the same outcome if you go to the park, close your eyes, and ask your child, "What do you hear?" And your child will say, "I hear a bird." "Oh, how many birds do you hear?" Then your child will say, "I hear two kinds of birds. One that goes tweet, 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 and one that goes tweet-it, tweet-it, tweet-it." That's active
mm,
listening. That's a
mm,
child discerning that there are two different sounds I'm hearing. And then, oh, I hear a dog barking. Where is it coming from? Is it in front of you? Is it behind you? Oh, it's far away, right? That
mm,
same skill. Now, think of it this way, those two birds and that dog, change them to musical instruments. So, in the future, your child will be able to say, "Oh, I hear it. I hear the violin. It's a little off. I hear uh, I hear the drum. It's not on the beat.
mm,
I hear this. It's too far. So that's why I
mm,
can't hear it too well. It's too quiet." Right?
mm,
So it's the same process, but we get so fixated on music needs to be this way. I need to expose my child to this. I need to play this for 5 minutes a day, that we don't get to the core of the concept. That's number one. And number two, we end up not enjoying the process, right?
mm,
At the
mm,
end of the day, your child takes your cue. So if you do not like classical music, you don't have to listen to classical music. Then pop in jazz or pop in world music or pop in
mm,
rock. Pop.
mm,
Remember that that all these kinds of music have different formula, right? And different rhythmic patterns. There's always something to learn from. If
mm,
you listen to jazz music, for example, you have very syncopated beats, and you have, let's say, the accent goes on the second beat, one two one two one two one two one two. Your child moves in a different way, versus if your child listens to classical music. So if you like jazz, go and play it, right? If your child learns how to scat and sing, then even better. They learn a different scale. Think of it
mm.
as learning different languages, right? And you're exposing your child to different languages from a young age by listening to different kinds of music. And if they see that you enjoy it and you respond well to it, then they attach a happy memory to
Mm,
becomes one of the core memories. Oh, we're dancing together. Music is fun.
mm.
I can use music to express myself.
Yeah. As I'm hearing you talk, and I've heard you say this, I mean, there's actually, sorry, just what you were saying about choosing, we need to be more free. I think we need to create more space. When I say we, I mean, I was also guilty of this when my children were younger. And I remember my mother-in-law being horrified at how scheduled my children were. But, Hong Kong is a strange place to bring up children. And I think, times are different. So we fall into this trap of scheduling, and we don't create enough space just to be free and to choose and to be in the moment. In literacy, there's a concept called free voluntary reading. And I was talking to a parent the other day who was saying, well, my child only wants to read comics and I want him to read chapter books. And he was like, actually, that's okay. So let him read whatever he wants to do. And it's the same with music. That's exactly what you're saying. We could translate that into free voluntary listening, right? Um,
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm getting from you about, yeah, the freedom to just enjoy music in whatever form or in whatever way that brings us joy, and to create the space for it. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I think I think if you were talking about holistic learning, right? So if you have one activity, see what your child is doing, follow your child's lead, and then in early childhood education, we have this concept called scaffolding, right? Literally,
Yeah.
when you scaffold a building, you're helping it grow, right? You're helping build its foundation and stay in its foundation as it reaches higher heights, right?
Yeah.
So same thing with musical learning. You have a drum. Your child is showing that they want to try something on this drum. Acknowledge that, and then see how you can challenge them, right? So if you thought that the activity was to keep the steady beat, but your child ended up trying different beats, right? Then follow that lead and say, okay, I didn't think of it that way. Can we try it this way? And I want to try it your way. And then you're then ticking your box of creativity, right? Now
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
you have I think parents and educators have to be aware what your goals are for doing something, and why are you doing something, right? So if my goal is to make sure that that children start, let's say, I don't know, learning to follow directions, right? Then
Mhm.
I will use this activity for that. But if let's say I want to build creativity in my child, then it's going to be completely different. Your approach to
Mm.
these two activities and two games will be very, very different, right?
Mm. But are we saying that maybe that kind of approach, again, it's being very prescriptive and trying to engineer and trying to, do something for what you're going to achieve at the end of it? Um,
Mm.
I don't know, I was getting from you before just a bit more about the holistic part of
Mhm.
learning should just be for the sheer enjoyment of it, or for whatever you can get from it, and just because.
Yeah. So yes, I mean, there's a whole gamut
Sure, sure.
of theories, right? In early childhood development, there's
Mm,
very child-centered ones, child-led,
mm,
and then on the opposite spectrum, you have teacher-led, right?
mm,
And I think as a parent, then you are in control of where you follow your child's lead, and then you can scaffold where ultimately you want to focus on that growth, right? So if you just
mm,
want creativity and free play, then go ahead and
mm,
play, right?
mm,
If you want to put a little bit more structure, I think
mm.
I was trying to say earlier. If you want to put a bit more structure, then see how can you use that interest of the child to then
Mm,
go towards your learning goal. Because at the end of the day, as
mm.
educators, I cannot also have the children just tapping without structure.
Yeah,
So
of course. Yeah.
that's where the Kinder Music program has a sweet spot. We follow the child, but at some point, our musical expertise comes in
Mm,
and tells the child, now let's put a bit of structure and let's mold that. Does that make
mm.
sense? So,
Yes, it does.
for example, there's the drum. If
Mm,
today I see that the child likes to tap, 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 and you know what? This is perfect because I noticed this child was a bit shy, or a bit or wasn't opening up in front of others, and now she's tapping. You know what? What I had a different lesson plan. Let me drop that, and let me
yeah.
just listen to the child, and let's do this together. Then I'm ticking my box of, in terms of holistic development, the child was showing an inclination to opening up socially and emotionally. Okay,
Mm,
then that's what we're going to do, right? If the child is saying, oh, teacher, you were saying we're going to tap this, but I want to tap it this way, I want to put it on my head, I want to roll it on the ground, right? Then I can say, oh, we can target the creative aspect today. All right, you want to put it on your head? Sure. All right. Now can you tap it quietly? Can you tap it loudly? Can you where else can you put it? And how else can you tap it? Can you tap it fast? Can you tap it slow? right? Then we're
Yeah.
actually encouraging that creative aspect. Now, oh, the child is receptive to numeracy skills. The child is receptive to following directions because the child is like waiting for me to tap. Okay, then I'm going to tap one. Your turn. And the child goes, oh, we're in this kind of mood today. Okay, then I'm going to do. And then the child goes, all right. Then I say, oh, how about this? Then the child goes, right? Does that make sense? So then I am actually doing the logical or slash following directions um, part. So the thing is, in a group of 5 children, for example, it could be that all these 5 children have a different agenda, and so
Yeah.
within the next 10 minutes of us having the drum, I need to figure out a way that this child gets that their creative fix. This child gets to try different things. Oh, this child gets to open up and have a little bit of the spotlight now that she wants to share with others. And oh, wait a minute, at the end of the day, I still want to get the beat right. Okay, was everybody happy now? Okay, now let's do something that I have planned, which is to tap the beat, because at the end of the day, as musicians, you need to keep the beat. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So it goes through all that. So I think that's the difference. For educators in music, we also cannot just have them do completely free play. We need to challenge them. Oh, you're tapping
Mm,
it this way. Can you tap it
mm,
fast? Can you tap it slow? Can you wait
mm.
before you tap? Because we need to prepare them in the if eventually, if they decide to continue music, they need to be able to have those skills ready. And I get all
Yeah.
these questions about, is my child can my child already play the piano, or is my child ready to take voice lessons? And there's really no age for it. If you ask real musicians, many of them will say not under 5. You
Yeah.
know, the credible musicians would actually say try it from 5, 6 up. Now, again, there's no prescription. Some children are ready at 3, some children are ready at 4, some children may
Mm,
even be ready at 2.5. But the
mm.
opposite is also true. Some children can be 5 or 6 and still not be ready for formal solo instruction. And the way to
Yeah.
understand is to see all those tick boxes that we have developmentally. Can my child keep the beat? Can my child follow directions? Can my
Yeah. It
child
makes perfect sense. Yeah, to me, it makes perfect sense. I mean, the way that you explain it, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of science behind it. I think that's so interesting. Someone's just put a comment saying my children loved Baumhaus. So
thank
thank you.
you
We can't see who you are because I don't know,
of the
something
streaming app? But
technical.
after this, I'll go check and I'll say hi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
their name will be on the comments. I mean, if you do have any questions, most people will listen to this on replay. So if you have any questions for Crizel after the live, then type them in the comments, and I'm sure we'll be able to find Crizel, give you the answer to that. What should parents? So what do you have coming up? Is there some way that you have an event that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, so we're having a Christmas concert this December 10 at the Fringe Club. We're very, very lucky to partner with this very historic icon. It's a cultural icon in Hong Kong, so it's a bit apt to get the children not just in the spirit of the season, but also get them into this culture, this artsy culture and vibe. We are having a Christmas concert, and what's special about it is that children from 1 to 4 year old can actually join in and interact with us. We've made the pace in such a way that the children can appreciate it, and also that they can stand up and move. We've chosen the songs so that the harmonies are just enough for them to understand. We do have all these tidbits of what families can do, because at the end of the day, we want to empower families to bring music into their homes. And And also we have live musicians, so that's pretty exciting. We recently did our first Kinder Music live at the West Kowloon Black Box Theater, and that was fun. We had 700 people come in, and children jumping in their
Amazing.
seats. And I mean, as a parent of a toddler, I feel like we need more experiences, more creative experiences for the really young children, and not just experiences where they sit down and
Mm,
just watch, but rather experience it and understand
yeah,
that it's a living, breathing concept. So we'll be doing a
yeah.
lot more of those in big theaters. But for our Christmas campaign, we're doing 4 small shows, just 100 people every show, which I think is perfect, because then you'll get to enjoy it with your children. You'll get to sing along with us, and also we've assigned 4 teachers at a time to do 4-part harmonies. So we've been working very hard for it. Yeah, I think I really feel that children deserve quality music, and at the same time they need music to be accessible to them.
Mm, interesting. We will put in the link about the Christmas concert, and you showed me some behind the scenes stuff about Kinder Music Live, which looks so exciting, and I love to hear more about that when you get more events going. So these are events. These are for 0 to 4, is it?
Yes, yes. Well,
Yeah.
we put 1 to 4 simply because some children, because of the sensory input, we
Yeah.
do try. We have muted a lot of things down. Everything, our instruments are going to be acoustic because of the space, and we
Hmm.
try our best to make sure that we're sensitive um, to children's hearing and that sense of that auditory sense, and so
Sure.
we recommend it for 1 to 4, but we have had babies come in, and
Yeah.
but of course I wouldn't go about saying bring all the babies in, because not everybody is ready. You can best gauge how your
Yeah.
child is in a public setting.
Yeah. Well, that's brilliant. We could go on for longer, but I think we'll stop there. And thank you, Chriselle. Thank you so much. Thank
Well,
you for
thank you.
those who watched live, and if you're watching on replay, um, we'll put in the comments about the Christmas concerts and the Kinder Music Live and how to contact Chriselle at Baumhaus. I know you've got lots of exciting things coming up. So thank you. I think you started off by saying we talk about holistic learning. So we always like to bring on different experts to talk about, different aspects of learning. After all, as parents, it's the first time, we've never done it before. So it takes a village, and we're here to support parents with all aspects of learning. Thank you so much. I know how busy you are. I really do appreciate you taking the time, and it's been fun.
Yeah, thank you
So
so
we'll
much.
say thanks, Chriselle. So we'll say goodbye for now. I'll be back here on just be me by myself next week. No special guests. Thursday at 6 o'clock. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.